So now let me tell you a story, and you'll understand why I'm about to say something that sounds out of the pale. There was a little girl, she was about 14 years old, and she was being taught world history in a suburb of Melbourne, Australia, 40, 50 miles outside of Melbourne. And the high school teacher showed her pictures of some very sad-looking people. And she asked, who are these people? And why are they so sad? And she was told those are Jewish people, and they were about to be killed. They might not have known when they were going to be killed, but they knew that they were coming to a bad place. How many Jewish people died? 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust. How many Jews were there? Anywhere between 17 and 19 million. A third of the Jewish people were murdered between 1939 and 1945. What did the world do about this? People murdering 1/3 of an entire people. They wanted to kill more, but they couldn't. What did the world do about it? Did they try to save them? Did they open their arms and allow them to come in as immigrants? No, they didn't. The world stood by and did nothing. There was a war. Did they try to stop the killings by attacking with airplanes? No, they didn't. They didn't bomb the tracks to Auschwitz either. And she became very depressed that so many people were allowed to be murdered by the Nazis. She started looking into it. The more she looked into it, the sadder she became. And she put the pictures of those places and the picture of Europe and all the places where Jews were murdered and tortured on her wall. And as time went on, she decided, well, if the world wouldn't do anything about it, I want to do something about it. I want to be another Jew. I want to help the Jewish people. And so one day, this little girl finds her way in the office of Rabbi Chaim Gutnick, who served as chief chaplain of the armed forces of Australia for the Jews, and was one of the leaders, one of the rabbinic leaders, perhaps the chief rabbi of Melbourne. And she comes to his office and says, Rabbi, I want to be Jewish. The rabbi interviews her, asks her, he asks her how old she is. She says, I'm 14 years old. He says, well, 14, you're too young to be Jewish, to be on your own at least. You can be Jewish, but you can't be on your own. You have to eat in your parents' home. You're not going to be independent, be able to work until you're 18, until you finish high school. Why don't you come back to me when you're 18? So she said to the rabbi, you don't understand, Rabbi. I have no purpose in living if I can't be Jewish. Please, there's got to be some way you can convert me so that I can become a Jew. So the rabbi said, you know, I will ask. Every rabbi has a rabbi on top of him. I have a rabbi, the Rabbi, who is the greatest authority in the world, and I will ask him if I should go through. In the meantime, you should continue what you're doing. You're doing good work. You're a wonderful person. You can still be a wonderful person without being Jewish. And she said, if you can't, you're not going to convert me, I want you to know my life isn't worth living. I don't want to live if I can't be Jewish. And that was an ominous threat. The rabbi shuddered. But he did write the Rebbe. And he wrote the Rebbe about her. and asked, should I pursue converting this girl? A few weeks later, he had asked the Rebbe many things. The Rebbe sent an answer on all of his questions. And then, at the bottom of the letter, the Rebbe says, what happened to that girl, that Jewish girl from, I don't recall the name of the suburb, the city, but the Rebbe said it's a Jewish girl that he wrote about. Rabbi Gutnick was shocked. The Rebbe was saying that this girl is really Jewish. That changed everything. He showed the letter to his colleague, Rabbi Serebronsky, and Rabbi Serebronsky said the Rebbe makes no mistakes. If the Rebbe says she's Jewish and she's Jewish, we have to find her. We have to tell her that she's Jewish. So they immediately took a car and went to the suburb. They had the address for the girl. We came to the address. There was no one home. They asked by neighbors, where are the people that are living here? And the neighbor said, they're in the hospital. The girl took very sick, and she's in danger of losing her life. She's in ICU, and the parents are there hoping, and against hope, that the girl will have a turnaround. The rabbis asked which hospital and directions. They thanked the neighbor, and they went to the hospital. They went upstairs to the ICU. They located the parents, and the Rabbi Gutnick, asked the wife, the mother of this girl, I'd like to speak to you for a few minutes privately. So either everybody left, or they went into another room, and he showed the woman the letter. He says, the Rebbe, who is a holy man and the equal of a prophet, is saying that your daughter is Jewish. You say that you're a Christian and that you've been practicing Christianity long, long time. There's only two ways that your daughter can be Jewish. Either she's converted, or you converted, or that you're Jewish by birth. Those are the only possibilities. But the Rebbe doesn't make mistakes. So what's the story? What's the truth? The woman broke down and cried her eyes out. She was born Jewish. She had a Beis Yaakov education. Her father was very cruel and unbending when she wanted to do things that a teenage girl wants to do. So, as soon as she could, she decided she was going to leave her family behind and never look back. She was going to go as far as she could away from them so they couldn't disrupt her happiness. So she moved to Australia. In Australia, she found a Gentile man, told him that she was a Gentile as well. He didn't look too hard. She's a pretty girl, whatever. And they married. They married, had children, and they had this girl. So Rabbi Gutnick now knew that the mother really was Jewish. And if the mother's Jewish, the child is Jewish. So he walked over to the child. Let's call her Rachel. Rachel, this is Rabbi Gutnick. I know you're sedated and you may not be able to hear me, but if you can hear me, you came to me asking that you want to be Jewish. You don't have to become Jewish. You are Jewish. Your mother is Jewish. That means you're a Jew. You don't have to be frustrated. You don't have to think that your life is over. All of a sudden, the color returned to Rachel. Within minutes, she was up, asking for some water. Within a period of 2 hours, she was able to dress and leave the hospital. Rabbi Gutnick and Rabbi Serebransky made a deal with the parents that the parents were going to allow her to go to Melbourne and study in the girls' school in Melbourne. And she would stay at someone else's house and live there. I don't know if they paid or they did not pay for it. But since this was such a special case, they made sure that it would be as easy as possible so that the girl could have a place to stay where she could eat and shower and take care of herself and then go to school and come back and do her homework and be a normal Jewish girl. And today that girl, I believe she's in Israel and she's the grandmother. So how did the Rebbe know that she was Jewish? So we'll say the Rebbe was a prophet, a Baal Ruach HaKodesh. Rabbi Gutnick was a chassid, but he wanted something more tangible. So he went to see the Rebbe later that year. He would always come once or twice a year. I remember his regal bearing. He was tall and handsome. And he came to see the Rebbe. And at the end of the Yechidus, the private audience, he says, Rebbe, tell me the truth. You wrote me that she was Jewish without any question. How did you know that she was Jewish? How is it possible for you to know 100% that she was Jewish? The Rebbe smiled and told him, you told me what she had said all about the death of the Jews and how her life would be so meaningless if she couldn't be Jewish, because she wanted to exact revenge and she wanted to be part of the Jewish people. The Rebbe looked him straight in the eye and said, only a Jewish girl could talk like that. A Jewish girl who didn't know she was Jewish recognized the horrors of the Holocaust and wanted to do something about it for Jewish survival. You, Jonathan Glazer, instead took a verbal attack and encouraged murderers to want to murder Jews. Therefore, I don't believe you're Jewish. Your father may be an Ashkenazi Jew, but somehow or other, I don't think you have a Jewish soul. Because a Jewish child doesn't say that about Jews. I'm sorry. I've had a lot of differences of opinions about Israelis, about their conduct. But I would never in a million years compare them to Nazis, or that they don't have humanity. I know them, I live with them, talk to them for many thousands of hours. A Jew has a heart, a Jew has a love, a Jew loves life and wants life for others. To accuse Jews of wanting to kill other people is a lack of not just understanding, a lack of basic perspective. It's perspective that no Jew could have. So I don't believe that you, Jonathan, are Jewish. And that's why you can say such horrible things. And all those who side with Hamas and demonstrate with them, I don't believe you're Jewish either. I don't believe a Jew could say such things. But what do you mean? They're killing people in war. Do you know how many millions of people? There were 80 million people killed during World War II. 80 million, or most of them civilians. 20 million soldiers maybe, but 60 million civilians died in World War II. That's what happens in war. In war, there are civilian casualties. In order to finish the war, the president of this country ordered the bombing of Hiroshima to make sure that they got the point across, that this wasn't just an individual happening. He ordered the bombing of Nagasaki. They only had one more bomb left, but he gambled that they would see that they could make more bombs and they could destroy all of Japan. So there were almost 200,000 people killed, maybe 300,000 people killed in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Civilians. Innocent civilians, you'd say. But they were killed anyway, because that's what happens in war. In war, you attack the enemy, till they give up unconditionally. And Japan was not going to give up unconditionally until they saw that this would cause the destruction of their cities and their people. Germany did not give up until it was overrun by the Russians on the east, the Americans and the Brits on the west. That's what happened. There was victory, total victory. In that process, millions of Germans lost their lives. Millions, not 20,000. Millions of them. 50 to 100 times the number of deaths. Germany lost over 5 million civilians during World War II. The entire city of Dresden was wiped out. 100,000 people were killed in the city of Dresden in one night by bombing. Those are the unfortunate results of war. In this case, in Israel's case, Israel is attacking Hamas and trying desperately to limit the number of civilian casualties. Do you call this genocide? Can't even say shame on you. You're just not Jewish.